It would be weird if you're not hiring and you're a trucking company, right?
You're listening to the BulkLoads podcast, your number one resource in everything bulk freight trucking. And this is episode 218.
Hey guys, Jared Flynn with the BulkLoads podcast. Got Tyler in here with me.
What's going on?
Tyler, the tip we're going to give this week goes right into our podcast, but we're going to start with the tip. Right now, it's hard to find drivers.
Yep.
Everybody's looking. Everybody we talk to, they have assets, trucks sitting, no drivers to fill their roles. Drivers are leaving. They're jumping ship, going into hauling for other companies or just getting out, period. Man, it's just rough. We have a lot of people that post ads in our classifieds. And if you don't know that, we have both a jobs and a for sale classifieds listing. It's a free resource. So if you're not a full paid member, you guys can still utilize that. We encourage you to use that to post jobs and ads. But we say this, if you're going to make a posting, how are you going to make that stand out?
Yep.
If you go down the road, how many people are advertising for hiring? It's everywhere. Everyone. Yeah, everywhere. You see, apply now, for hire. Well, I guess my question is, okay, what do you have to offer me? I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean, the tides kind of turn. I mean, if you want to attract talent and people, how do you get them in the door? Well, so I'm going to segue into that. Today, we're going to bring on Scott Rea with AvatarFleet. Is that right, Tyler?
Yep.
Yeah. They had actually reached out to us, and I'll be honest, I was skeptical at first. We have companies that now that we've become one of the top 5 podcasts for trucking that reach out and want to be on our show. So we want to try to be selective. And this one, I'll be honest, I was skeptical. I was like, hey, this AvatarFleet, what are they going to offer us? This is for bigger companies, bigger fleet companies. I'm telling you, you need to listen to this show.
Yeah,
I mean, I know you're listening right now,
good.
but tune into this one. This one I got, to the edge of my seat, amped up, because the same thing I was just mentioning, Scott talks about. There's so many people that are posting digitally online, paying for ads on certain social media sites or different websites to recruit drivers. But again, they look like everything else out there. I mean, if you post an ad like everything else, what's the point? Why are you spending money doing that? So that's what Scott's coming to do. They come in and they can actually go in and look at your ads and give you advice and walk you through how to create a more compelling ad to get people to call.
Yeah, and one thing that I thought was hilarious, during the podcast, Scott actually pulled up the BulkLoads job section. He started scrolling through it.
I didn't even know he was going to do that.
Yeah, he was just, this is the same, this is the same, this is the same.
Yeah.
Just over and over. But yeah, he gives great tips just how to stand out and how to be the purple cow, as he calls it.
I was going to say one thing and maybe it gets overused now. When I was posting loads back in the day, I can remember I would actually, when I posted a load, I would put like a dollar bill sign like in front of the posting and behind the posting, dollar. But again, it looks silly, but again, it caught somebody's eye. And again, that's what he's going to show you. Hey, what can I do? So we know you're out there, you're looking for drivers, you're trying to hire. And honestly, I got some good feedback just for us as a company. Like, how do we hire employees? And again, it's not necessarily about the money. I mean, that's more towards the bottom of the list. I'm not going to give away the secrets, so I'm going to go ahead and get this started. So here's my conversation with Scott Rea of AvatarFleet. Scott, thanks for coming on.
Jared, appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Love the name of your company, by the way. Avatar. I mean, I think of the movie.
Yeah, we were first.
That's awesome. Well, high level, give us an elevator pitch. What is AvatarFleet?
We're out here solving the driver problem. And so for any of your listeners out there, may not have heard the term driver problem, but I think it would resonate, right? I've always got empty seats. I've got a target on my back for a bogus lawsuit at any given time. And I worry about making sure my guys come home safely every night. So that's how we define the driver problem. That's what we solve.
And is this solving, the trucking industry, I mean, huge driver problem for all sizes fleets? I mean, 1 to 2 truck to 50 plus operators?
No doubt. Well, obviously, the larger the fleet are, the more empty seats you have. But I was talking with a buddy this morning who's got 3 drivers, And that was at one point he had lost all 3 drivers. One retired, one decided to be an owner operator, and the other just had some health issues, right? And he had 0 drivers all of a sudden. And that's not, recruiting is not something he thinks about every day. And so that happened in February. Here we are, August, and he comes in and says, Scott, save my bacon, man. So the concepts apply regardless of how big or small you are. And if you only have 3 empty seats, but those are your only seats and those are empty, that hurts still, right? So the principles apply. It's how do you scale them up and down?
Well, I'd venture to say so many of our subscribers, business owners, small business owners, I mean, they're wearing, 10, 15 different hats. I mean, they're running the business. They're managing the loads, the freight, the operations. And, we know recruiting is one of those, but man, sometimes it's like, where do you start? How do you recruit? Yeah. I mean, you can think of the simple things, putting ads out and all that, but like,
Right.
it's a problem. And I think when you talk about this, like, it kind of people cringe on it because it's like, dude, it's like, and you mentioned this earlier, you'd listen to some of our prior podcasts, but like, we all know, I mean, it's 100+% turnover in the industry. So every year we're getting 100% of people coming in and cycling out.
Well, that's why we don't call it the driver shortage. We call it the driver problem intentionally because we've ticked some people off, right? We call it BS on the driver shortage. We say it's a driver problem. It's hard to have a shortage with 100% turnover, and the number of new entrants that hit the industry every year would dictate, we just do a bad job of keeping in the industry. And the podcast I was referring to, that 100%, why we have 100% turnover podcast, was spot on. And that is, people come in, get chewed up, and they don't make it to 2 years experience, right? And most of the folks listening out here, are lean on the smaller side. So they're on the more likely to want somebody with 2 years experience, want somebody with 5 years experience. And the person that does that has survived the mills, right? The mega carrier mill in order to get to there, which means the trainers, Jared, we've done some secret chopper, where we go through orientation with people, and we were a new guy. We had somebody who was a trainer that had 6 months experience. I mean, we have rookies teaching rookies out there. No wonder why this thing is screwed up. So yeah, when we talk about the driver problem, we're helping you fill empty seats through better marketing. We call people and say they need help? They help finding people, but they don't answer their phones because they got other full-time jobs, right? Recruiting is not their full-time job at many of the companies we work with. So, but you got to be responsive because the other carriers out there are so thirsty, right? They're answering every phone. And then I'm looking at your jobs board, and there's a problem out there. We call it the black and white cow versus the purple cow. Do you remember Seth Godin's book from way back when, early 2000s, The Stone Ages, about purple cow? Did you ever read that?
I know Seth Godin. I don't remember that one. I've read a couple of his books, but
his whole, you can kind of get it right by the name of it. It's all about standing out from the herd.
Yeah.
Take a look at your jobs board. Everybody, I'm scrolling on it right now. Let's read some of the headlines. It's let's see here. Drivers wanted, now hiring. And then it just lists out where you run, local runs, local drivers. All right, so there's a differentiator. Pull one of our new trailers. Basically what I'm saying is there's a whole bunch of black and white cows on your jobs board. Everybody defaults to, where do I run? What's my equipment, my pay, my cents per mile? We're just kind of falling into this trap of zero creativity. But when you talk to a driver, that's the things that are important, but it's more than that. I bet if you ask your drivers why they stick around, I bet pay is not number one. I bet it's working with you, how you treat them, how they're a part of your family. These are things that are true differentiators. Those are the stories that stick out. But when I go to the jobs board, ain't nothing about that.
Well, it's funny, in just on a broader scale, like I almost like today there was I was going through LinkedIn, but person I'm connected with, we're hiring.
You and everybody else.
Whoop-de-doo. Like, is that supposed to, like, am I supposed to be drawn to that? And I'm not making fun of that person, but like, now you see it, like, why would you even like like purple cow, black cow. Like, what's the purpose of even saying we're hiring? Okay.
It would be weird
Everybody-
if you're not hiring and you're a trucking company, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, like it's so true. Scott, like, yeah, you got to make yourself different on that. So, dude, you have like drawn my attention into this. Like, I mean, you have prepped perfectly. How do you all like walk us through this process? How do you all help companies recruit better?
So high level, it's pitch, process, and placement. And I'll start with the last one I said, placement. That's where everybody wants to start. Where should I spend my money? That's the last place to think. That's the last thing to think about. It's frankly almost irrelevant. Because if you've got a crappy pitch where you're a black and white cow, you're just wasting your money. So let's start with the most important, which is pitch, the purple cow. So the first thing is, take a look at your ad. And then you got 3 competitors that you hate, right? The ones that always take your drivers from you. I'm up here in Cleveland, Ohio, the AFC North, right? I hate the Steelers, I hate the Ravens, right? And they hate us. And so pick your Steelers and your Ravens and take a look at your ad and put your logo on top of their ad. What applies? Meaning what stays the same? What can they say about you and you about them? And then if anything, they can just say the same thing, that's a bad pitch, right? That's a black and white pitch. It's one that is
awesome
that anything else can say.
Yeah, that's good.
Another pro tip is I would hope so. So like take a look at your line that would say newer equipment. Well, I would hope so. Healthcare. I would hope so. Right? I'm not like crappy equipment. That's what I'm looking for, right? No, I want new stuff. So think about like those lines that we just see. And I see big companies, right? I see 800 driver companies just saying medical benefits. Well, come on, guys. That's almost as bad as now hiring. So those are 2 quick tests to help you stand out. But really, you can't stand out from the crowd if you don't do your research on what your competitors are doing. So we really dive into that. And some of it is just Google. You've got great tools on Indeed. You can go to the loads board and see where you are. You know who your competitors are. So it really does take the time to do the research, see what they're pitching out there, and do your comparison. And many times, Jared, that's where people don't have marketers on their staffs full time, or if they do, they're for other things, not this little world of driver marketing, recruiting. That's where we come in and help them. And because it's just taking the lift off, from the time. But I will say this, for our DIYers out there, the folks that make their own, house and fix the toilet and all that, we do have some great ebooks that I'd be happy to make available. It's called How to Double Your Hires Without Spending an Extra Dime. Because that's what we're doing. We're telling companies, saying, how much are you spending? All right, give that to us, and we're going to figure out how to do it better for you. And it's not because you stink. It's just because you have 10 other jobs. You split brain. You can't quite do it, right? So that's how we come in and attack. So really, it's the pitch is where we start. Placement, I mentioned, we've got a couple sites. We'll pick the best one based on how many you need and what we think you're going after. They're different, right? In your world, your niche that we've talked about, Jared, of the bulk haulers and farmers, they hang out in places like you, right? BulkLoads. That's different than an intermodal person or a over-the-road dry van right? So you got to know those little niches and where to hang out. And then second is process. Live answer rate, brother. Can you answer the phone 95% of the time? If not, you might need some help. It's like a pizza. If you call Domino's and they don't answer, you're going to Papa John's.
Wow, that's good. That's really good.
So I talked quick there, but those are the 3. So pitch, placement, process. That's the buckets.
I don't want you to give away the secret sauce, but I'm going to challenge you here because I'm sitting here listening to this, but like, I have a trucking operation, Eastern Kansas, remote area. There's another outfit. He's 20 miles up the road. We have the same trucks. We run the same product, same customers, same lanes. Like what am I going to do to differentiate myself or make drivers more attracted to my operation versus theirs? Everything's the same. What's going to attract the driver to want to haul for my operation?
Jared, I love that question because that is a challenge we run into daily. And I'll start with many companies say, hey, look, because I kind of I'll put companies from a recruiting standpoint from ads I see when we meet them in 2 buckets. The big boys and then the family run companies. And family run can be like 200, 250 all the way down to onesie twosies, right? But they lead with the same thing. If we treat you with like family, we treat you with respect. How many times have you seen that on an ad, right? We treat you with respect over here. Again, not bad, maybe differentiates from the mega carriers, but not different from the guy 20 miles down the road, as you described. So there's two answers to it. The first answer is, and this can only come from the top, by the way, is are you willing to change your operations or something that really is going to be unique? You know, many times when I go work with some larger carriers, the recruiters are just saying, this is what I got to work with. And they don't call the shots, right? But I think the people listening here, they call the shots. And so you can control it. And so I'll give you a story. I learned this business recruiting for a company in Akron, not directly in your area, right? We're moving tires primarily for Rubber City Capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're moving a lot of tires, some furniture. And the CEO at the time, this is back in this is the old days, right? 2014. And the CEO at the time said, I'm gonna do a guaranteed salary, $1,200 a week guaranteed, get you home weekends guaranteed, 100% company insurance guaranteed. It was a good pitch, right? That caught attention for a lot of drivers. Now, some of them would do the math and go, $60K, I can't live on that. All right, you're not a good fit. Hey, this is not for everybody, right? But the guy who's valued consistency, knew how to build a life around, wanted to pay the bills, a family man, it was a very good job for that person. So I tell that story of, think about that. That was the CEO willing to make operational and pay structure decisions based on a purple cow.
Mm.
And then, so if you're willing to do that, that's the way to win. That is a purple cow. That's truly remarkable, standing out. And I'll say this, it's an and or an or, and that is how you tell your story. So maybe you can't be that creative. Maybe you can't be that purple cowy. But we have neuromarketing tactics that are included in that ebook I mentioned. Neuromarketing is just a fancy way of saying marketing to the old brain, the reptilian brain, the decision maker, like that true decision maker, right? That fight or flight that keeps us going.
Yeah.
There's 6 stimuli that tap into that. And so if you're better at telling your story, you can say the same thing as the other guy, but if you tell it better in a way that the old brain recognizes, you can win that way.
Wow. That's good. I want to talk a little bit too, because again, you talk to these business owners and, they say, man, I got these trucks sitting here. Like, there's no drivers out there. I can have the best marketing, the best platform, whatever. I can give them, like, I can serve them up like gold for, but like, there's just no drivers in existence out there. What would you say to that?
Well, it's false, because there are drivers everywhere. The question is, I've never seen anybody do it perfectly. So it would be let's have an honest assessment. So we start everyone with a game plan where we dive into the pitch, the placement, the process, and we go through some key metrics. Like I mentioned, I was rattling off your live answer rate, your cost per hire, your cost per lead. Let's take a look at your funnel. How many leads are you generating? How many where's the choke points? Are you doing, what's your time to your speed to hire, your speed to contract? Is it days or is it weeks? Correct answer is days. Things like that. Now let's pretend like that person was right. But I've never met that person. I met somebody very creative outside of Cleveland. They were a smaller shop, less than 10 drivers. They struggled with their purple cow, but you know how they found one in a little niche, and they only hired right from schools because they knew that they were at the schools. They were going against JB Hunt, Werner Schneider. And they knew they had in that little controlled environment, they could kick their butt, right? So they were that family company that if you compare next to another family company, they look the same. But in that little world of one school that fed the need that they needed, because they only needed 1 or 2, every couple months. And they had a pipeline and they had a dedicated finishing school curriculum that we helped them build so they could have confidence that they could safely turn a rookie into a pro. And they found this little pond and they fished in it, and they could consistently get, a bass every week or every month, however many they needed, and they could do it safely. And I'll leave it with one comment here. We have some insurance partners out there. I was just running a blog on this morning. that there's a whole bunch of stats out there of how new drivers in the industry are more likely to have an accident. And that is factually correct, but it's skewed because of how, right? So typically a CDL school is just cranking them out, just trying to get their $6,000. And the big boys are hiring them because they're the only ones whose insurance companies let them do it.
Yeah.
Or they have their self-insured. And then they toss them on the road and they grind them out, right? And spit them out. And they probably don't, those guys don't probably last in the industry. I remember that trainer that had 6 months experience that was training us. That's why that person's having accidents. If the company where I'm talking about, the insurance company, they found quite the opposite. When somebody puts in a quality finishing school program, tenure with the company is a better predictor of an accident than tenure in the industry. Right. So a rookie who's got proper training is less likely to have an accident than to do with 10 years that you bring off the road and just give them the keys.
Wow, that's fascinating to think about.
You got to do it right, though.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. You were just talking about that, but this is going to kind of be one of my final questions. Like, you guys have been around for a while. Over the years, I mean, do you have some metrics? How many businesses, trucking companies have you helped? I mean, drivers that you help placed or recruiting or help their retention, help new drivers. Give us some analytics on that.
Well, I'll start with the one that we didn't talk about a lot. We was bring them home safely. And our Train the Trainer program of LLC, it's called Look Ahead, Look Around, Leave Room, Communicates, the foundation. We've had over 1 million drivers go through that certification program. And we've proven time and time again the companies reduced their claims by 30% in the first year. That's the one that I love the most because that means people are coming home safely to their families every day.
Yeah.
You can quantify it in claims, but the stuff, the magic is that accident that didn't happen. You can't really measure that, right? But somewhere out there, someone's coming home safely because of that. And I don't, Jared, have off the top of my head how many drivers we put through the paces and recruiting. So I don't want to make something up.
Sure.
But I will say this: what we have learned is we come in to fill the seats, and when we do that, then we can have the industry is really fixated on the seats. But when you can get that pipeline running, then you can have the conversations about safety and retention, plugging those holes and bringing them home safely, which is how you really move the needle. So that's what I'm most proud of.
This is what you're describing, though. Like I was like, man, you can apply this to any business. I mean, as far as recruiting, standing out. I mean, you're just taking this and really focus on an industry that's very fragmented and damaged because of this. I mean, the driver turnover issue, and saying, hey, let's target an industry with such high turnover and see how we can reduce that and help retention, help recruiting, and so forth. So yeah, I've found that fascinating. Last question. I'm listening to this. I'm interested. I mean, I've drank the Kool-Aid. I mean, I think this is awesome. I want to take next steps and learn how I can do this because I'm struggling right now. I have trucks sitting. I'm paying the bank, or I have money, capital sitting on the lot. I don't have drivers to fill, make profit. I mean, I can hear this in the voices. I've heard it so many times. I'm looking for whatever options. Give us the next steps. I mean, you talked about the ebook, but just like, hey, I got this operation. I want to connect with you guys. How do I get there?
Yeah. Well, the easiest way, our website, AvatarFleet.com. And on there, you'll be able to, you can see, we got it broken down by headers, and you'll see, what you're paying. Is it recruiting? Is it compliance? DQ files? Is it safety training, or is it retention? And you can kind of choose your own adventure that way. And if you're a person who wants to try before you buy, there's self-guided demos on the site to take a peek at some of what it is. Do some free trials, before, take it around the block before making commitments. And if you're someone who says, I like this, but I'd like to do it myself, go to the blog site. So avatarfleet.com/blog. Subscribe. You get weekly. We drop something in your inbox every Friday, all educational about stuff we're talking about today. Whatever it is, latest thing we're working on to try to help you in driver recruiting, compliance training. But go to the website, do some window shopping, and see what tickles your fancy.
Scott Rea with Avatar, president of AvatarFleet. man, thank you so much. I didn't know what to expect coming on this, because again, it's like, man, he's going to tell us the same thing everybody else talks about, and it's like, no, you didn't. Like, you're approaching this as a different angle, and I love it. And I love that that like it's thought provoking, and it's like, again, this could be something that can be solved. It's something that's not, let's stop talking and start doing, because there are ways that you can separate yourself and hopefully fill those roles, fill those seats for your company. So, hey, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, man, thanks for recognizing that our purple cow is the purple cow. You got it. Please, everyone, stop doing it the same way, man. It eats away at my soul every time I see it and hear it. And I'm with you, Jared. There's got to be a better way, and there is. It's hard work. There ain't no silver bullet. Pitch, process, and placement, though. That's what gets it done.
Awesome. Tyler, I think I'd heard of the purple cow before, but Scott talked about that again, how to stand out, versus black and white. But what did you think about that?
Yeah, I thought it was a great analogy. And also, one thing that he touched on was he calls it a driver problem, not a driver shortage. And you guys kind of talked about the 100% turnover in the industry. But yeah, he said that he might get ridiculed over it, but yeah, he just gave his opinion on that situation.
Well, I've preached that for years. We don't have a driver shortage at all.
Yeah, there's lots of people wanting to get into this industry. It's just nobody can keep them around. They just leave the industry.
Yep. So, man, I thought this was awesome. A couple of things. If you are, I mentioned this before the podcast, but if you all want, we welcome advertisers on BulkLoads. Again, we have a free resource for our jobs and our classified listings. So we encourage you to put in there. Hopefully you can use some of these tidbits Scott talked about, or reach out to them where they can help promote it more. But Tyler, you hit up all of our advertising on our homepage and some of our backend pages, like on the forum and loads and all that.
Yeah.
Speak on that.
Yeah. And if you want to go that step further to stand out, above all the other job postings that get posted a week, definitely contact me, Tyler at BulkLoads.com. And we can talk about some of our different ad packages. But what it is, we'll place your ad, and I can help design it. Or if you have a design, we can go ahead and just go ahead and place it, whatever works. But basically, it's just your company on our homepage standing out. So you're the first company that everyone sees. It's in an ad rotation with some other companies, but it just makes you stand out that much further from the crowd.
And I'll say this, not to put a plug on ourselves, but most of our advertisers, when they advertise with us, they stay on there. I mean, we have some now for, going on 8-9 years. I mean, year after year. So I say this, if anything, it's got to be helping somewhat. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on there. And again, I think too, it's just they keep seeing on our page. I think a lot of it even comes. We want it to be a good ad, but that repetition.
Yep.
I think Scott maybe said it, but it's that rule of 7. People got to see something 7 times before it resonates. So kind of even think about that when you're out there posting on different platforms. But people want to see it 7 times, and again, you have to make that stand out above everybody else.
Right.
So awesome. Cool. Well, man, we thank you for listening to the BulkLoads podcast. Man, if you get a chance, make sure and join or look at our social media sites and like and follow us there. Thank you very much. God bless.